According to the New Testament, are we sinners or are we saints? How should we view ourselves in God's sight? Well, on the one hand, we know our frailty. We know our shortcomings. We know that every day we fall short of the goal. We don't love God perfectly with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. We don't love our neighbor perfectly as we love ourselves. We understand that, but how does God see us? How does he address us? How does he want us to see ourselves? Look at what Paul wrote to the Corinthians, 1 Corinthians chapter 1. Look at what he says. To God's community in Corinth, having been made holy in Messiah Yeshua, called as Kedoshim, or called as holy, with all who everywhere call on the name of our Lord Yeshua the Messiah, both theirs and ours. And I'm reading from the Tree of Life version. Your other translations will commonly say, called saints, called to be saints. What does this mean? To be a saint in Greek is to be holy. We are called to the saints in Corinth, to the saints in Corinth, to the saints in whatever community. That's how God refers to us as saints. 1 Corinthians 6:11, you have been sanctified already. You have been made holy. So the moment you're saved, even before you had a chance to deal with your life radically, the moment you're saved, God transfers you into the saint column, the holy column. He does. And if you read through the Old Testament, sinners are the enemies of God. We stay away from sinners. God judges sinners. Psalm 1. Blessed is the man who doesn't walk in the counsel of the ungodly or stand in the way of sinners or sit in the seat of scoffers. Read through Psalms. Read through Proverbs. Sinners are the enemies of God. John 9, the man born blind says, I know that God doesn't hear sinners. You say, yeah, but doesn't Paul refer to himself as the chief of sinners when he writes to Timothy? He's talking about his past life. I was a persecutor, a blasphemer. That's who I was. God had mercy on me, the chief of sinners. That's the whole context there. And you say, doesn't Jacob in the 4th chapter say, sinners, cleanse your hands? Yeah, because the people, they were living like sinners. They were living like adulterers. They were committing sin with the world and living in the flesh, and he calls them sinners. And if we act like that, that's how God will rebuke us. But in fact, we are called saints. So if you get up at your church service on Sunday morning and says, hey, want to welcome all you sinners, great to have you here on Sunday. Well, that to me would mean we have a lot of non-believers in the house, because if he's welcoming God's people, he should be saying, welcome, saints. And think of it, holy ones, holy ones. So when God writes a letter to you and me, let's say we live in New York City, to the holy ones in New York City, that's how he would write to us. And that means that's how we are to live. Yes, made holy by what Jesus has done, but now Hebrews 12:14, pursuing holiness, 2 Corinthians 7:1, perfecting holiness, 1 Thessalonians 4:3, giving ourselves to our bodies to God in sanctification. Because we are called holy, now we are called to be holy. 1 Peter 1, be holy in all your conduct. So God calls us saints, not sinners. And as saints, holy ones, we live by his grace in overcoming life and are conformed more and more to the image of Jesus. Don't just say about yourself, I'm just a sinner. I'm just a sinner saved by grace. No, you are a former sinner transformed by the grace of God, made to be a saint, flawed, imperfect, but pursuing holiness by the grace of God.